Spoiler warning. The contents in this video contain a lot of spoilers from the 3.0 Sumeru Archon quest. If you haven't finished the quest yet, I suggest saving this video to watch later. With that out of the way, let's begin.
It's even possible that this entire world is a lie, and the history of the whole world has just been one endless Sabzeruz Festival.
There's a lot to unpack with the new Sumeru Archon quest. But after Lesser Lord Kusanali dropped this bombshell revelation on us, something in my mind clicked. Now, if you haven't finished the quest yet, you probably should before watching the rest of this video, but here's a quick TLDR. Our traveler wakes up on the day of the Sabzeruz Festival and spends it with Junior Zard. After a disappointing ending of the festival, they go to sleep for the night, but as they wake up the next morning, it's the morning of the festival. Again. As the traveler goes through their day, they begin to experience a strong sense of deja vu, as if everything had already happened before, but they just didn't remember. It is only when they encounter Nahida, or better known as Lesser Lord Kusanali, that the memories are returned to them and they realize that they've been living the same loop for many, many days. Kind of like Edge of Tomorrow style, the traveler and Paimon look for a way to escape this loop across the span of many days, only making a little bit of progress per loop and having to go back to Nahida to regain their memories. Ultimately, they learn that they're actually in a manufactured shared dream while the Akasha is secretly harvesting their own dreams in the background. No one else notices the loop because their memories are being erased at the end of each day. And here's where the key is: memories. What are the importance of memories in Genshin? In Teyvat, the ley lines exist as sort of a built-in backup of the world. Memories, moments, emotions, and even people of the past can sometimes manifest itself through ley line energy as ghostly figures or scenes. We see this several times in A's story quests, how the ley lines were able to replay past events and brought back memories of people from 500 years ago, or in Zhongli's story quests, where Kunjun could see the memories of certain rocks with high elemental energy. And finally, the events of Surumi Island seem to mirror the effects of the Akasha's dream system, how the Day of Rue's sacrifice is being played on a loop due to a ley line disorder in that region. Now, this actually makes a lot of sense, seeing that the Akasha is powered directly by the Dendro Archon's gnosis, and the Dendro Archon's consciousness is directly linked to the Irminsul tree, whose roots are, you guessed it, the ley lines. Both are under the same system, so it's kind of like the Akasha is pressing replay on purpose, while Surumi Island is the result of a broken record player that keeps playing the day on a loop. So one is intentional, other one not so much, but the results are more or less the same. After recording the events of the real day of the Sabzeruz Festival, the Akasha can play it back and do so with exceptional detail, as shown by Dia's training dummy or Junior Zard's book. Now, why is this important? Well, we as a traveler were only able to escape this loop because we had access to our memories. If not for Nahida returning our memories at the start of every day, we would probably have gone down the same path we did in the original Sabzeruz Festival, repeating the same loop over and over again to no end. And even if our sense of deja vu got strong enough for us to realize that something was very wrong, we probably would not have been able to escape. After all, we only managed to get a little further in learning the truth of the world by building on what we learned the previous day. If we were to forget, we would lose all the process we made and probably end up repeating the same routes we already tried in a previous loop, thus keeping us trapped in this endless cycle. Think about it like a maze. When you reach a fork at the road, you have to decide which path to take, and at the next fork, you choose again. You zigzag your way to the end of the path just to find a dead end. So you start over. But since you already knew that that specific route was a dead end, you can eliminate it as a possibility and try a different one instead. However, if you don't remember that you've already been down that route, then what's stopping you from reaching the same dead end over and over again? This is pretty much like when the traveler wonders why they never thought of just leaving the city to escape the loop, only to find out from Nahida that they actually considered this path before. Twice. But both times, his memories were unable to be saved by Nahida for the next day. So if it wasn't for Paimon staying behind and Nahida's method of sending a message back, the traveler would have never known what was outside and would probably have kept going down that route over and over again. So, memories are pretty important, aren't they? If people can't remember, they can't progress. And if they can't progress, they are stuck living in the same cycle, making the same decisions and ultimately arriving at the same ending. So, how is the world like a Sabzeruz Festival? Well, remember those ruins of all those ancient civilizations? Salvandagnir and Dragonspine, the upside-down city in the chasm, the ruins on Surumi Island. What if they were all past loops of Teyvat's Sabzeruz Festival? This is going a little bit more on the philosophical side, but consider this. Since humans are mortals, we only have a limited time in this world. The time we have to learn all its secrets is limited from our birth till our death. Just like in a Sabzeruz Festival, we had a time limit. From morning until evening was all the time we had to find any clues and try to escape before the loop resets. Our memories of the Sabzeruz Festival being erased at the end of each day is kind of like how we as mortals will die at the end of our lives, and all the knowledge we've gathered in the world dies with us. Even if we were to be reborn into a new life, we would not remember anything we've learned in the past life and would have to start from scratch. So, how do we save our knowledge? One way is to record our knowledge in books and pass it to the next generation. The Genshin equivalent of this is the ley lines. Since ley lines store memories, all the knowledge gained from the past can be extracted by the people of the present. Kind of like a giant knowledge capsule that we can tap into. This is probably one of the reasons why many people are comparing the scene of Doctore burning down the Irminsul tree with the burning of the Library of Alexandria. He is essentially destroying knowledge, and it's not unlike what Celestia has been doing with celestial nails. What if what happened in Salvandagnir is the same? Because the civilization accumulated too much knowledge, Celestia had to destroy it. But just killing its people is not enough, because a leyline tree in the area still remembers, and future generations may extract it to progress even further from there. Kind of like what the Sumeru scholars have been trying to do. So, to force humanity to reset, Celestia essentially nukes the area with a celestial nail. And it's because the ley lines are destroyed that we can't use our treasure compasses in Dragonspine, even though it was technically part of Mondstadt. The sheer cold weather condition is also a result of ley line disorder. And this is probably not the first time it has happened. Throughout our journey, we have visited countless ruins of ancient civilizations, all destroyed and evidently by Celestia's hand. Dainsleif even mentions that the ruins in the chasm are older than Conria, and what do we find smack in the middle there? Another celestial nail. So, what if that's a Sabzeruz loop? Every era, there is one civilization that manages to rise above the rest, and after learning the secrets of the ley lines, they gain the power to rival the celestial gods themselves. But at the end, they are destroyed, their people killed and their knowledge forgotten. And as one civilization falls, the world starts anew and a new civilization is born. And mortals, curious creatures as they are, will always hunger to learn more about the world they're born into. So they ignorantly walk down the same path as their predecessors and fall just like all the other nations before them. It's an endless loop that would never allow them to surpass the gods. A loop that, just like the Sabzeruz Festival, they cannot escape. But what if someone remembers? The first time I watched this scene, I found it odd. Why was Dainsleif's existence a defining fact on whether or not Conria has truly fallen? Looking through the lens now, it's starting to make a lot of sense, because Dainsleif still has a sense of self. The Curse of Conria has turned most of its citizens into hilichurls or abysslings, creatures that don't have a sense of self or memories of their past nation. They exist in the world like an empty shell, quite similar to all the puppets in the Akasha stream. The people whose consciousness can no longer withstand the effects of the Akasha, similar to how Dunyazard's gradual fade from playing her own role in the loop to just another empty shell of the dream world. Perhaps, if enough time had passed, everyone in the Sabzeruz dream may have turned into an empty shell as well. We've seen from both the Traveler and Dia that the strain of each loop does seem to be taking a toll on their mental exhaustion. Perhaps if this loop were to repeat hundreds, thousands, even millions of times, the mental fatigue would have been too much for even our Traveler to handle. They may lose their sense of self, and even the purpose of their journey in the first place. Now, this concept sounds a lot like something we already know. Erosion. Perhaps this is the true curse of immortality, one that the Conrians have to suffer, and that even the Archons themselves are not immune. Erosion is the reason A locked herself up in the plane of Euthymia, why Zhongli gave up his gnosis, and likely why Venti spends most of his time sleeping. They are all trying to delay the inevitable. In my previous video, I hypothesize that the events of the Cataclysm in Conria 500 years ago are destined to repeat itself in the current day, and is most likely around the time our journey in Teyvat comes to an end. Our sibling tells us to continue our journey, and is confident that we will understand once we've reached the end. This is kind of similar to how Nahida wouldn't give us the answers right away, and would only leave us clues to keep us on track. Perhaps our sibling wants us to witness the events unfold with our own eyes. They already know what will happen at the journey's end because they've already completed the loop once before. Their war with Destiny might be trying to break the loop that Celestia has in place and prevent Conria from being completely lost to the world like all the other civilizations before it. After all, we as Outlanders are the unknown variable because we don't follow the same rules as the people of Teyvat.
Listen to me, Ether. I have already traveled through this world once. Once you reach the end of your journey as I did, you will see for yourself the true nature of this world.
Those who don't know history are fated to repeat it. In Genshin, the concept of destiny and fate has been hinted at numerous times, but the most evident had to be Mona's quest in the Summertime Odyssey event. As an astrologian, Mona's work allows her to peer into the fates of others, and as she said so herself, the fate cannot be changed, no matter how terrible the results are. The gods have already mapped out the lives of every mortal in Teyvat among the stars, and while some astrologians are able to read it, none have the power to change fate. Now, if you think about it, we do see this fate being played out in the Sabzeruz Festival. Everyone around us are repeating the same motions and events as the days already mapped out by the Akasha's manufactured dream. And even on occasions when we try to make different decisions and change the course of the timeline, the change is not significant and it doesn't carry into the next loop. We tried exposing the truth to Dia and taking off the Akasha terminal, but at the end, we were left right back where we started. Fate, as you can probably call it. Perhaps that's what the constellations are. Everyone's path in life is mapped out, and it falls in line with the loop set for the world. Even when you're actively trying to defy the fate after learning your destiny, perhaps all the actions you're taking is no more effective than taking off your Akasha terminal in your dreams. So, does anyone in Teyvat really have free will? The Sumeru Archon quest definitely gave me a lot to think about, and I'm very excited to see where it takes us next. There's still a lot of unanswered questions, and I haven't even begun to touch on the whole concept of dreaming that was so heavily hinted in this lore. Perhaps I'll save those thoughts for another time. As always, if you have any thoughts or discussions regarding this theory, please feel free to leave me a comment. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this video.